Okay, so I thought I would start with the Open Studio piece that I showed. So this is just some pictures of the video, kind of like installation thing that I did. You've seen the video before. And then on the next slide, there's just some development that I did for the Open Studio, which was just some photos of the still life that I created, shot on 35mm film, that I don't think I've shown before, so I thought I would share it. So this is just to show an archive of all the images I take from beauty shops, so like the graphics from outside and photos from inside as well. It was an initial starting point for me realising and questioning my obsession, and it just became something interesting to look back on. I started researching the history of nails to kind of pinpoint my obsession, and found out that in the Far East women grew their nails to extraordinary lengths to be seen as a symbol of social standing. I also found out that some scientists say nails are derived from claws, which kind of reiterated why so many women with long claw-like nails felt so powerful. Of course, you can't think about these things without like thinking about class and the cultural aspects. And I read a headline that said, just like cornrows and wigs, or even bee stung lips and big bums, acrylic nails are the next in line of once negatively viewed assets of a marginalised group to go mainstream. So I kind of like, not wanting to go into the realm of like appropriation or glorification, I began reading more about self care and the power of looking after yourself instead of focusing just on like nails. In these initial experiments, I've been distorting my friends and my own hands, thinking about the minimization of the body and exploring fetishism. Aesthetically, this is the sort of thing I enjoy making, and I think conceptually I was starting to think more about the idea of like ritualistic beauty acts, whether it's like tapping your nails or going to get them done or doing them yourself. And I was thinking about how these spaces affect the act of self care. So after reading Audre Lorde's Uses of the Erotic, I realised that the appreciation and the satisfaction in the everyday things that I did was something I had never really thought or felt before. She kind of made me realise that there was value in pleasure, and especially pleasure for the simple things, and that I could find value in all aspects of life. So this realisation pushed me to create work that focused on heightening the senses and drawing the attention to our daily encounters, creating an appreciation for the small things like painting your nails or brushing your hair. Lorde's essay also kind of pushed me to question and value my thoughts. For example, you guys know I was all obsessed with milk and I was seeing it everywhere, and as soon as I allowed that to kind of just have value, I realised how much it linked to my practice and kind of why it was important. So I was thinking about like hand fetish and ASMR, but I wasn't really sure on how these things kind of linked to the ideas of ritualistic acts of self-care until I read the article on Frieze called On Milk, A Story of Regulation and Control. And in this article it explains that there isn't a part of life that milk wouldn't touch, but ultimately the common theme throughout their research was that milk linked to the external regulation and control of women's bodies. This made my obsession make sense within my work, so I was minimising the female form in my videos, focusing on like fingernails and the teeth and lips, and I was thinking about the labour of these rituals in an empowering way, but I was also addressing the fact that the images of the female body has different values within consumer culture. So I kind of ended up seeing milk as this thing that kind of tied the ideas of like the body and capitalism together. This was just a experimentation that I did, kind of encapsulating plastic nails into cubes of ice, and I was kind of like pouring milk into it, just kind of exploring different mediums and stuff like that. This led to this short video that I made with overlaying of milk and parts of the body using the repetition of sound and visuals, like thinking about overconsumption and beauty advertisements, but also kind of linking it to active self-care. So when lockdown started, I kind of decided to start painting a little bit and making some physical work. So I was collaging and just painting, just kind of as a way to get away from the screen. And then I started to kind of incorporate those into how I would usually set up a piece of work in the studio for like a crit or something like that, but completely digitally, just to see how that would look. I then started to kind of just distort these on Photoshop even more and think about different views, because as they're not like physical pieces, it's a lot easier to kind of change the way they look, which I found quite interesting. So for the Unit 7 project, I was a part of Art and Publishing, a Feminist Approach. It was a really insightful and collaborative process that gave us access to a lot of resources. For example, we went to the Chelsea Publications Archive, where we saw publications from like the past 100 years. We saw like Guerrilla Girls and loads of amazing, really rare publications and zines and stuff like that. We also went to the British Library to explore different ways of presenting work and how historically things have been recorded. We also went to the Banner Repeater, which is an artist-run reading room and project space in Hackney Downs station, which I would really recommend actually. You guys can you can go there, you can read loads of different zines and publications that they have in the archive, and there's loads of independent and interesting ones for sale and stuff like that. So the lockdown kind of happened halfway through this project, so it meant our ideas and work had to be shifted online. We communicated through an Etherpad, which was really useful if we missed a session or needed to find out information from previous sessions. We all made publications digitally through Hotglue, which is a really easy tool for creating websites in a kind of like collagey way. So our work didn't really end up kind of being as much of a collaboration, but we had this landing page where you could kind of access everyone's work. We kind of kept in the loop with each other what we were doing and communicated still. So my publication ended up being a reminder for me to not take for granted the ability to touch the people that I loved. I got all of the women in my life to send me pictures of their hands, and I collaged and edited them in my usual style. I think during lockdown it was something a lot of us were feeling, so I just wanted a way to capture those emotions and just remember how I was feeling. Yeah. So I thought I would include this because I found it really interesting when we were put in the groups for tutorials a few weeks ago, and I had a bit of spare time after the tutorial, so I experimented and kind of curated our work together. And I think this is going to maybe be an ongoing thing where we can collaborate and see how all the works kind of interact with each other and what conversations that can start. These are some edits from stills from a video that I'll be showing after this, but I just wanted to explain the video. It's kind of inspired by like a YouTuber's morning routine, using lots of different like creams and skincare and things like that, but still thinking about the same themes. Maybe tying them in with my research a bit more, using the words of Audre Lorde and Adrienne Marie Brown. I tried to create like quite a dreamy but uncomfortable immersive environment, commenting on the overconsumption of these products, but also it does still kind of reiterate the importance of self-care.
So, in this case, women are maintained at a distant and inferior position, psychically milked. And the erotic is a measure between the beginnings of our sense of self and the chaos and power of our deepest feelings. Any woman so empowered is dangerous. It flows through and colors my life with a kind of energy that heightens and sensitizes and strengthens all my experience.
And we are taught to separate that erotic demand from most vital areas of our lives, other than sex.
And that it was narrowing our idea of what a life can be. All of that led me